We say each person has a success instinct. Now, what does that mean? Is that every person has an innate drive toward the realization of their full potential. This is installed in you. You see children, they want to touch and taste and smell and feel and get into things. Adults are always wanting to improve themselves. Everybody is ambitious to a greater or lesser degree. The only thing that restricts what you do, be, have, is your own thinking. What you think is not possible for you, you wish you could, you wish you would, and so on. But everybody has this drive toward success. There was a wonderful line that said, within each person is an inherent drive to the full realization of their potential. All negative emotions come from frustrated potential. At the root, your negative emotions, your negativity comes from feeling that you could do or be far more than you are. It's only something that is holding you back. And then we make the mistake of thinking that the something is ourselves, and as soon as you think of that, you move from active to passive. If you take the 80-20 rule in our society today, 20% of people are proactive, like yourselves. You take the time and the trouble to do things, and then about 80% are passive. They're wishing and hoping and waiting and kind of have given up, and they hope that something will come along. That's why they buy lottery tickets. There are 7 ingredients of success. When I started talking about success, people say, well, how do you define success? How do you define success? And there's an old saying, before you do something, you have to do something else first. So before we start talking about becoming more successful, we have to talk about is what is success. So number 1 ingredient of success is peace of mind. Peace of mind occurs naturally in the absence of fear and negative emotions. If you look at all spiritual doctrines, all religion, all meditation, all philosophy, all great thought, and all of history, it is to bring people to the point of thinking where they enjoy complete peace of mind. The rule is that if you set peace of mind as your highest goal, you'll probably never make another mistake. If you set peace of mind as your highest goal, everything else will fall into place. And if you achieve everything else in the world, but you do not achieve your own peace of mind, you'll consider yourself a failure. You'll be unhappy, you'll be frustrated, you'll be irritated, you'll be angry, and so on. So peace of mind is the critical thing. And so you have to keep asking yourself, what are the things that occur that give me peace of mind? When do I enjoy the highest level of peace of mind? And when you have no fear and no negative emotions, your mind is like a vacuum. What flows in is complete peace. When you have solved all your problems, when everything is fine, you just feel completely at peace. And those are what are called the peak experiences of your life. Those are when you are the happiest of all. And this is not something that occurs accidentally. You walk along and you trip over some peace of mind and pick it up and put it in your pocket. You have to deliberately design your life so that you feel a great sense of peace. And of course, an extension of that is happiness. Aristotle said the ultimate aim of all human behavior is to be happy, just to achieve your own happiness. The ultimate measure of how well you're doing as a human being is how genuinely happy you are. And if you can accomplish everything else in the world, but you're not a happy person and you don't enjoy inner peace, well, then to that degree you fail. The second ingredient of success is health and energy. It means, with health and energy, it means that you have abundant health and just a non-stop flow of energy. True measure of health is how much energy you have. You get up in the morning and you feel energetic, you feel happy, and when you're really happy and excited about your life, you tend to have a boundless flow of energy. And of course, today, it's possible for us to live longer and live better than has ever been possible in all of human history. And our job is to take advantage of that. Now, the third is loving relationships. This is really the most important of all. If you have inner peace and you have good health, then your loving relationship are terribly important. 85% of the success you enjoy in life will be determined by how well you get along with other people. If you are having problems with other people, that will immediately interfere with your peace of mind and will very quickly interfere with your health. Most illnesses today are psychosomatic in origin. The mind makes soma, the body, ill. And why is it? It's because of anger and frustration and problems, almost always with people. You measure a loving relationship by how much you laugh with the other person, how much you laugh. And this is really the critical measure of the health of a person. A person can't say, well, I don't laugh very much, but I'm really healthy. No, sir, you have a lot of problems because human beings are the only creatures in the world that laugh. Did you know that? And the laughter comes from inside. It comes from the soul. It comes from the heart. It comes from everything in the outer world being fine. And so the more you laugh, the healthier you are. When you laugh a lot, it triggers all kinds of functions in your body, all of which are good. You come out of a funny movie or a laughter conversation with somebody and just feel happy all over. So laughter is how you can tell if your relationship is going well. Financial freedom is a real big issue today. Financial freedom means that you don't worry about money. Worries about money, by the way, are the #1 reason for marital breakdown. Worries, disagreements, arguments over money. So if you have problems with money, they affect your relationship. If you have problems with your relationship, they affect your health. If you have problems with your health, it affects your peace of mind. And money is a major issue. Is today, if you want to be financially successful, you're going to have to work very, very hard. You're going to have to get up early and hit it hard and work all day and work into the evening. You're going to have to work 6 days a week. There's no wealthy people who work 5 days a week. Zero, nada, nicht, rien de choses. None. There's no successful people who work 5 days a week. Because if you work 5 days a week, you actually only work about 4, and you start late, you leave early, and you waste time all day long. Successful people work long days and they work into the weekends. However, they're doing something they enjoy, and they're doing something they get tremendous satisfaction from because they're making progress, and as a result, it's really not work. You know the old rule, I found something I love to do and I never worked again the rest of my life? I worked 6-7 days a week, but I never worked a day. When you start to find what it is that you love to do and put your whole heart into it, you never work again, and you get paid more than you ever dreamed of, and you don't even care. You don't even count the money anymore because you're just getting so much satisfaction from using yourself at the very highest level. And so financial freedom, this is something people have to start thinking about. The worst thing you can do today is to be in debt. So one of our goals is to achieve financial freedom. And this isn't something that happens by accident. We don't say, well, geez, I got to show up, I'm financially free this morning. No, what we have to do is we have to set it down and make a plan, and we have to work on it for a long, long time. It's not something you can do once, it's something you need to do throughout your career. And too many people today are deeply in debt. You know, 70% of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. 70% of Americans. What that means is that they have no money. They have no reserves. The average American family at the age of 40, for the major breadwinner, has a total net worth of about $40,000. And that's including the equity in their home. At the age of 60, they have a net worth of about $62,000. An average of about $1,000 a year. Most people without pensions, that's why there's so much political controversy, without pensions, most people would be destitute. They'd be impoverished because they have nothing. 70% have nothing. Why? It's not because they haven't earned a lot of money. Do you know that if you saved $100 a month for your entire working lifetime, you'd be worth more than $1 million when you're retired? $100 a month. If somebody put a gun to your head, could you save $100 a month? Yes, if your whole future depended upon it, could you save $100 a month? Well, it does. And people don't even save that. Worthy goals and ideals give you a sense of meaning and purpose. They make you wake up in the morning and you're excited. You can hardly get going. Now, there's a lot of people who love to sleep. They love to sleep because they've got no reason to get up. People who are doing something and achieving something that's important, they look upon sleep as an irritation. It's something you have to do so that you're fully refreshed, but you do it as quickly as possible so you can get back to doing the stuff that makes you happy, gives you peace of mind, fills your financial coffers, and so on. The sixth ingredient of success is self-knowledge and self-understanding, the essence of all wisdom. And Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. The essence of all human wisdom is self-knowledge and self-understanding. Is to understand who you are and why you think and feel the way you do. Because that foundation is called intrapersonal intelligence. It's been identified at Harvard as one of the foundation intelligences of great success in life. It's really understanding yourself. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses. You'll find that superior people are very honest about themselves. They know that they're not good at certain things. They're not defensive. And they're better at other things, and they're quite proud of it. And the last ingredient is personal fulfillment and self-actualization. Abraham Maslow called the ultimate aim of human growth is to achieve self-actualization. Self-actualization is where you feel each day that you're becoming everything you're capable of becoming. You feel that you're continually growing and that your goals are greater and greater. You're becoming better and better. You're learning more and more. You're doing more and more. Only 2% of the population actually reaches the high level of self-actualization, where they really feel that their life is just terrific. It's just expanding and it's wonderful and they've got so many things going on and they're happy most of the time and they're cheerful and so on. Get along wonderfully with others. Only 2%. He called self-actualization being, and the achievement of self-actualization, the fulfillment of a being need, of being as a person. He said the 98% of the population are plagued by what he called deficiency needs. Is they're constantly compensating for their inner deficiencies and their worries and their doubts and their fears and their past experiences and so on. Only 2% reach self-actualization. The key to success is, first of all, understanding. And understanding is understanding yourself and understanding your world. And that takes some time, it takes some study. And the second is effort, is you have to work. You have to be willing to make the efforts necessary. And there's always work that you have to do. If you want to become physically fit, if you want to lose weight, there's a lot of work that you have to do. And unfortunately, most people, the bottom 80% of people, are lazy. Actually, there are three types of lazy. They're lazy, very lazy, and bone lazy. And one of the greatest problems we have in our society today is lazy people who want the rewards that hardworking people get. And they call the lazy people the average person. They call the successful people the millionaires and billionaires, the millionaires and billionaires, the millionaires and billionaires, without realizing that all of those people started with nothing. Many of them were poor, many of them were immigrants, and they worked 20 to 30 years to become financially successful, and they say, well, these people should just be made to share it. This wealth that just fell in their hands. There was a politician who ran for the presidency some years ago, and he said, those who have been lucky at the gaming tables of life should be forced to share their winnings with those who have not been as fortunate. That's the mindset. In other words, if you're successful, just luck. So therefore you don't really deserve it, so it should be taken from you and given to others. The fact is that it takes tremendous effort for you and I to achieve any kind of success. One of the differences between successes and failures is successful people are intensely action-oriented, and failures are talk-oriented. So I spent 2 months, changed my life. I did 2 months full court press, and I read everything I could find on self-made millionaires. And I found that more than 10,000 self-made millionaires had been interviewed in detail. These are people who started with nothing and became millionaires in the course of one working lifetime. And they had said the things they did, the things they didn't do, the mistakes they made, the things that they were not mistakes, and so on. And I put together a talk, and it was called the 21 Success Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires. And I got up and I gave the talk 2 months later, and it got a standing ovation. And people asked me, could you give that talk to our company? Could you give that talk again? And of course, I said, yes. And so I gave it again and again. And it started off as a 60-minute talk, and then a 90-minute talk, and then a half day, and then a full day. And I began giving the talk all over the world. And then I recorded it on audio and video. I wrote it into a book form. And countless people, hundreds, thousands of people all over the world became millionaires. And it's very much like what I said before, is if you work with a master chef, the chef can teach you how to make absolutely beautiful dishes. So becoming a self-made millionaire, when I started off in 1980 studying this subject, there were about 5,000 self-made millionaires in America. Today there's more than 30,000. And the number is increasing about 1 every 8 minutes. And 87% of self-made millionaires are self-made, and they come from this type of business. So they say if you take 100 people at graduation from college or graduation from high school, 1 of those people will become wealthy in the course of their lifetime. 3 will become well off. 15 will have a good deal of money set aside, and 80% will be working, dead or broke at the end of their careers at the age of 65. So when I was in my 30s, I did not graduate from high school. I finished in the half of the class that made the top half possible. They say everybody's good for something, even if it's to be a bad example. And I was a bad example. They used to say, if you don't watch out, you'll end up like Tracy. If you don't watch out, you'll end up like Brian Tracy. And that would scare people into doing their homework. And so I left school in the 12th grade. I got a leaving certificate, not a diploma, a leaving certificate, and it says goodbye. That's one of those little emojis waving goodbye. And so my first job was washing dishes in the back of a small hotel for $1.12 an hour. I remember when I got promoted to $1.14 an hour, that was a major event in my life. And for years, I worked in laboring jobs, and I washed cars. I washed dishes until I lost that job, and then I washed cars until I lost that job, and then I washed floors
for a janitorial service until I watched that job. And when you're young, losing is another word for involuntary career redeployment. That's where you get a chance to explore new jobs unexpectedly. Today, they give you 2 weeks notice. In those days, they give you about 2 minutes notice. We won't need your services anymore. Here's your check, there's the door, goodbye. And so I would go from place to place and worked, and I lived in my car, and I did all kinds of things. But I always had this fantasy, undeserved by the way, that I was going to become wealthy someday until I had this opportunity to speak. And as I began to study the subject, I learned some wonderful things that they're so simple, it means that everybody can become wealthy. What you need is a dependable source of cash flow. That's really important. And Life Advantage is a wonderful source of cash flow, because all you have to do is just pump the well and the cash flow just pours down. Just keep filling the buckets. And this company has only one aim in life, is to help you fill the well, is to pump the pump and have the cash flow. Then the question is, what do you do with the cash flow? And that's a whole nother thing. So I'm not going to talk to you about that, but what I found was that there were 21 secrets. And so I recorded these and I gave them as talks and so on. Everybody loves the subject of becoming wealthy. And people started to come back to me after as little as a year and say, because of your talk, I'm wealthy now. I'm a millionaire now. And they would come back and their faces were shining, and sometimes they had tears in their eyes. Because I struggled. 1 year after I listened to your talk and began to practice those things, I became wealthy. Here's a couple of ideas, and then I'm going to give you 7 keys to becoming an outstanding leader in this industry and to becoming one of the highest paid people in our society and becoming wealthy. And their wonderful thing is they're not complicated. I'm not asking you to learn rocket science or anything. All you have to do is do simple things. What they found in the first major studies of thousands of self-made millionaires, they said, what is your secret? What did you do differently? And they all said something similar. All the self-made. By the way, we now have 2,595 billionaires in the world today. And we didn't have billionaires when I started off studying. Maybe had J. Paul Getty, the oil billionaire, but there weren't very many billionaires. Now there's 2,500. And 87% of them, according to Forbes, are self-made. These are people who started with nothing. Many of them were immigrants. They came to this country with nothing, and they started working, and they started doing certain things in a certain way, which we'll talk about, and they became, first of all, millionaires. Here's a one-liner for you, because many of you are already millionaires, is that the first million is hard, but the second million is inevitable. And when I learned that, and of course the reason for that is this, it's not, as Jim Rohn used to say, he said, it's not becoming a millionaire that's important, it's the person that you must become in order to become a millionaire. Yeah, you have to become a completely different person. You have to develop character beyond 99% of the people in the world. You have to develop honesty and discipline and quality relationships and the willingness and the ability to work and set priorities and all kinds of stuff, because without that, nothing is possible. So once you earn your first million, then you are the person who can earn a lot of money, and the second million it's never easy, but it's easier. The first million is really hard. The second million, not so much. So I found that there were 21 secrets. The first one of all is dream big dreams. I couldn't believe it. Every single person who finally made it said the turning point in their life, they were driving down the road of life, not making much progress, which is that 80-20 rule that you hear. 80% of people make 20% of the money, and 20% of the people make 80% of the money. And what happens at a certain point in life, they change and go on a different road. And here's the turning point. It is make a decision. Make a decision that I'm going to become wealthy. I'm going to become a millionaire. And I will work hard, long hours. I will sacrifice. I will pay the price. I will do everything that is necessary, because you have a millionaire maker organization right here. The sole focus of this job is many wonderful benefits for users of the product, but the sole focus of this is for you to become wealthy. by becoming successful so that you can do all the wonderful things that you want to do for yourself and your family. So make a decision that, by gum, I'm going to do it. And I realized at the age of 36 that I'd wished and hoped and prayed, but I never made a decision. I thought, oh yeah, maybe someday it'll happen. Maybe there'd be a miracle, something. So I bought penny stocks or mining stocks, and I did all kinds of stuff, and not a darn thing happened. And then I found that the two things that millionaires say, number one is I was not more talented or smarter. I didn't get better grades than other people. He said, but I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder, start earlier, work harder, stay later than anyone else. And you know, self-made millionaires on average work about 59 hours a week. They work about 6 days a week at 10 hours a day, or 7 or 5 days a week at 12 hours. There are very few wealthy people who work 5 days a week. In fact, there probably aren't any. They may work 5 days a week, but it's way after they've achieved their financial goals. The second thing they found is that they were frugal. Is they earned the money, but they didn't spend it all. Is they saved the money. Because there's a time in your life where you can be generous. You can buy things, you can take trips, you can get new cars and new homes and a home in the mountains and so on, but not early. I had a banker once who was very helpful to me, and I still remember, his name was Alan. He said, we do banking for owners of small and medium-sized businesses, and we can always tell when the business is going to get into trouble. Is the owner of the business decides to take all this money and build a new house. He said, you can always tell because it's too soon. Is they spend their money too soon. If they waited another 5 years, they could have bought or built a house without a problem. But what they do is they start to get some progress and they start to go a little bit wild. So your job is to become a self-made millionaire, and LifeVantage's job is to help you get there, and my job is to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you the recipes and the formulas that you can use. And sometimes it just takes one choice. And remember, 87% of millionaires and billionaires are self-made. They started with nothing. And nobody's smarter than you, and nobody's better than you. Nobody's smarter than you, nobody's better than you. If somebody else can do it, especially with all the disadvantages that many people start off with, if someone else can do it, you can do it as well. That's the proof. Abraham Lincoln once said that some become wealthy is proof that all can become wealthy. It's just the very fact that a person does well, it's proof. If they started with nothing and they became wealthy, well, there's the proof you can do it as well. Just do the same things over and over again. So I wanted to share with you what I call the 7 C's. And I began putting together formulas, and my formulas are 3s, 7s, 10s, 12s, and 21s. I wrote 22 books, which had 21 great ideas to achieve this particular goal. 21 great ideas to double your income, 21 great ideas to live to be 100, 21 great ideas to be an outstanding manager, 21 great ideas to meet and marry the man or woman of your dreams. That's very popular. And I just did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and wrote down all these one-liners. And people said just one-liner out of 21 changed their lives forever. So I'm very, very hungry. I spent about 150,000 hours studying. I study all the time. Yesterday on my way up here from San Diego. My son lives in Las Vegas. I probably read 3.5 hours, plus 2 hours before leaving, and I'll do another 4 hours of reading today, as I just constantly taking in new information. Because one idea combined with your other ideas and with your opportunity here can transform your life forever. And you just have to say, is this the idea? Is this the idea? So the first C is the C of clarity. Clarity is my favorite word in success. It's my favorite word in business. I have done consulting for more than 1,000 corporations, large companies worldwide, companies like IBM and General Motors and PepsiCo and Bank of America. I mean, big companies. And I've also worked with more than 10,000 small and medium-sized companies. And what I found is in every single situation, problems occur when the company becomes unclear about what it is they're doing or how it is they're doing it. And so I've developed a program which is really just a fun program for me intellectually. It's called the 2-Day MBA. And it shows 10 different factors of a company. And these are the ones that I learned when I went to university, back to university in my 30s. And I find that all problems come from lack of clarity. What is your product? It's the first question you ask. Who is your customer? What does your customer consider to be more valuable than anything else? How are you superior to your competitors? What can you do to attract more customers? What can you do to close those customers? I'll come to this in a second, but basically it's clarity, lack of clarity. Now here's something else I learned, and they did a study of 50 owners of companies, successful owners of companies like yourselves. And they asked them, what is the very best time management or business tool that you've ever discovered? 49 out of the 50 held up a yellow writing pad. Yellow writing pad, sort of like this. And this is what they did. This is how they planned their day. They made a list, to-do list today's date. They wrote down everything they had to do. They always work from a list. Always work from a list. Always work from a list. If you don't work from a list, it's very much like taking your hands off the wheel of your car going down a winding road in the mountains. What happens is your life's going to go on and you're instantly going to start doing irrelevant and unimportant and useless things. And at the end of the day, you'll be exhausted and you'll have accomplished nothing. Now, I know this doesn't apply to anybody here,